Hey everyone, how are you? I'm going to start a new series, and in this series I'm going to solve all the questions of NeetCode 150. Now if you have not heard about NeetCode 150, that's fine. I will tell you what it is and how it is going to help you. So if you are somebody who is about to crack the coding interviews, or who are preparing for the coding interviews at top companies like Google, Amazon, or even for a startup, then this series is going to be for you. In this series we are going to solve the entire NeetCode 150 questions, which is one of the best data structure and algorithm roadmap. We are going to solve it topic by topic. So basically this NeetCode 150 platform is a platform in which we have the most popular LeetCode questions, and it covers the questions topic by topic. For example, right now on the screen you can see that we have this NeetCode 150 platform, and in this platform we have different topics: arrays and hashing, two pointers, sliding window, stack, binary search, linked list. Similarly, you have a lots and lots of topics. Now these are some of the most popular topics for coding interviews. Whenever you are facing some kind of coding problems, a lot of chances are there that these are the topics out of which the questions will be there, right? Now the problem is, on LeetCode you have thousands of questions which you can definitely solve, and it is definitely going to help you. But the problem is, if you want to solve thousands of questions, it takes a lot of time. So in this NeetCode 150 platform, basically this is the NeetCode platform which has a tab, or which has a practice tab for 150 best questions on data structures and algorithms. The 150 questions are divided into different topics like arrays and hashing, two pointers, as I have already told you. So we are going to solve the questions topic by topic, and how it is going to help you is, if you are able to solve a particular topic questions, then this is going to help you solve a lot of different questions of the same topic. So if you want to solve the same questions on LeetCode, you might solve hundreds of questions, but that is not the best way, I would say. That's because if you are solving the same pattern questions multiple times, that might not be the best way for you, right? If you are preparing for some interview, you have a limited time, right? So I think this 150 questions is really going to help you a lot. And the way we are going to solve the questions is, in every different video of this NeetCode 150 solutions series, I will be solving just one topic. Arrays and hashing is being targeted for this particular video. I will be solving like 9 questions of this arrays and hashing. And the way we are going to solve it is, we are actually going to think about, you have never seen this question, I have never seen this question. I will try to think in a way that I have never seen this question, now how can I solve it? Because in the interviews, the chances are you have never seen the question, right? But maybe you have seen some pattern, some idea of this question, but not the exact question. So this is the idea, that let's solve the questions, let's solve a topic, and for every problem we are going to think in a way that, okay, if I have never seen this question, how will I solve it, right? So let's start, and let us talk about the arrays and hashing. And before that, let me tell you that this NeetCode IO platform is completely free. You can just go to this platform, and you can go to this NeetCode 150 tab, which is in the practice section. You can log in with your Gmail account, and you can get started. So all these 150 questions are completely free. And let us start with arrays and hashing. In the arrays and hashing, we have around 9 questions. We are going to solve all those 9 questions. So the first question is about contains duplicates. So let us start with this question, and that's our first question of the series. Let us read the problem and try to think how we can solve it. So it is of easy category, all right. And given an integer array nums, return true if any value appears more than once in the array, otherwise you need to return false. So I think that's a very straightforward question, that we have an integer array nums, right? We have an array and it is nums, and it has some numbers. We need to return true or false, and we need to return true if any value appears more than once in the array. For example, we have this nums 1 2 3 3. In this array, yes, we have a duplicate, 3 and 3 is there, and that is why the output is true. And in the second array we have 1 2 3 4, and the output is false because there are no duplicates. All right, how can you think about this? How can you solve it? That's the first approach, right? I think the question is very straightforward, so we don't have to think about a lot on what is the problem all about. If you have a duplicate in the array, return true. If you don't have, return false. So how can you find a duplicate? So one of the things which we can think about is, I can just run a loop. First of all, let me just run a loop. Let's say for n in nums, this is going to access all my numbers 1 2 3 3, right? Let's run the loop with the indexes, because what I was thinking is, if I just run another loop, let's say for I in nums, then maybe we are comparing the same number twice. I wanted to run the loop twice, like n square will be the complexity, and I wanted to check that, okay, let me say, do I have a 1 in this array? But I only want to check, do I have a 1 in the array with other elements? If I have this 2 in my current loop, I want to check, do I have a 2 in this array? But I don't want to check with this particular element, right? So that is why let's not run it in this way. Let's run it in the index form for I in the range of length of nums. All right. Now let me run another loop for j in the range of length of nums, right? And if I is not equal to j, right? I mean, what I want to do is, I want to compare each element in my array with other elements, but I don't want to compare the elements which are on the same index. Basically the same elements I don't want to compare, right? So what I can do is, and the thing is guys, why I want to do it in this way is, see the thing is, if this is a 3, right, I want to compare this 3 with other elements in my array, and if I get another 3 apart from this one, then I can say yes, there is a duplicate, right? So what I can do is I can just run 2 loops, and I can say if I is not equal to j, if they are not the same element, and let me write one more condition, and nums of I is equal to nums of j, then I can return true, right? I mean, this will return a true if I'm comparing 2 different elements, that is 2 elements at different indexes, and those elements are equal. And if they are equal, then I have a duplicate. I have at least one duplicate in my array, and I can return true, because the question is all about finding a duplicate. Now, if I come out of this loop without returning, it means I have no duplicate. Then out of this loop, I can say return false. And guys, this is not the best way to solve this. I get it. You might be thinking that, hey, this is not the best way. But let's try to see, if we have not solved this, how can we think? I'm trying to run from the brute force approach to the best approach. This is going to actually prepare you for interviews in the best way, because in the interviews, you will not hit the optimized way directly. You will have to go through the brute force approach, and then you will have to optimize it. So let me just run it. Let me see if we are able to, pass the test cases. These sample test cases are fine. Let me just submit this, and let's see if we are able to pass all the test cases. So yes, it is accepted. All right, even if it is accepted, in the question you will see that there is a section recommended time and space complexity. The time complexity is O of n, and the space complexity is O of n, which they are recommending, which the question is recommending. We are actually solving this in O n square time complexity. That's because we are just running 2 loops, one loop, then another loop inside the same loop. So it is n square, which is fine, but this is not the best. But in the question, they are saying that we have this O of n space. Okay, I will take it as a hint that I have to use some space, because right now I'm not using any extra space. The space complexity is O of 1. But what I want to do is, see the thing is, you will have to understand what we need to do, right? We just need to compare elements, or we need to find that if this one is anywhere in my array, right? If this one is anywhere in my array apart from this particular index, then I can say that this is, a duplicate. It contains a duplicate. But how can we think about this? Okay, let me try to explain you the approach. If you have 1 2 3 3, right, we are running 2 loops. What we are saying is, okay, let me consider this is an element, and let me compare it with others, or let me consider this element and let's compare it with others. All right, the thing is, if my loop is at this particular element, I want to compare it with these elements, right, to find that do we have a duplicate. Instead of that, one more way we can think about is, if we have this element as of now, we have not seen these elements, right? If we have the current element as 1, I will just ask a simple question that have I already seen this 1 in my array previously? How this is going to help us, I will tell you. See, the thing is, right now the output for this will be true, right? We have a duplicate. We have this 3 and 3. If I follow this approach that, okay, let me check, do I have a 1 previously, or do I have a 2 previously, or do I have a 3 previously, then what will happen when you are at this particular element, at this particular 3, and you will ask the question that do I have a 3 previously, you will get an answer like no. So you might say, okay, even if I am accessing this element, my answer is false, I don't have a duplicate. But later on, if you will actually have a duplicate, then this 3 is going to tell you that, okay, previously I have seen a 3, right? So this 3 will answer your question if you are following this approach, that instead of asking all the indexes, just ask the elements which are previous, right? That's the first thing. Now again, we don't want to solve this question in O of n square. We don't want to run another loop. This loop should be eliminated, right? But now what we can do is we can actually create a set, and I will tell you why we are creating a set. Let me just create a set. S is equal to a set which is empty as of now, and let me tell you why we are creating a set. In a set data structure, in this kind of data structure, we can just add elements which are not duplicate. If we are adding an element 1 into this, 1 will be stored. If we are adding 2, 2 will be stored. If we are adding 1 again, 1 will not be stored because it is already present. That's the data structure which we need to utilize. This complete data structure is actually about duplicates. It eliminates any kind of duplicates in your data. All right, if it eliminates any kind of duplicate, how is it going to help us? There is one more advantage of this particular data structure, and that is that looking up for a particular data can be done in O of 1 time complexity. That is, if this particular set is having like 1 2 3 4 elements, and if I'm asking, hey set, tell me, do you have a 3? It can tell you that it has a 3 or it doesn't have a 3 in O of 1 time complexity without running a complete loop, right? So what we can do is we can just have this set, right, and just run a simple loop. Okay, right now we are running a simple loop in our array, and right now we don't need any kind of index. So I can say for n in nums, I can run the loop in this way. And guys, I know that I'm using Python to explain the questions, But if you are somebody who is from some other programming language background, you can implement the same thing in your own language, because data structure and algorithms are not about programming language. It's all about the logic, right? So right now I'm just running a simple loop in my nums array and I'm accessing each element. And what I will do is I will say if I have this n in my s. If I have this n in my s means, have I seen this current number in my set? Have I seen this particular element previously? Okay, if the answer I get is true, it means that I have a duplicate. I can say return true. But now you will have a question that my set is empty, right? You are not filling any element in my set. All right, after this if condition, I can say s dot add the current number, and this is going to do our job. And how it is going to do our job is, see, the thing is, I know that the first element is never going to tell me that it has a duplicate or not, because there is no element before the first, right? All right, there will be a if condition. If the current number, let us say if the 1 is in s, is in the set, no, it is not. So this will be false, right? Now we will add this 1 in our set. So later on, if we have a 1 in our loop, then this set is going to return yes or true for this particular condition, that if 1 or if n is in s, right? So we are preparing our set for later duplicate values. This particular 3 is not going to tell me that do we have a duplicate, but this will get added into our set. This particular 3, when we are looping, and this particular 3, this last 3 is coming in our loop, this condition will be true. If 3 is in the set, yes, it is in the set, right? So we are going to return true. If we are coming out of the loop, we are going to return false, and we can just submit this. I'm sure this is going to pass all the test cases, and I hope it is accepted. Yes, it is accepted. And now we are having a really optimized solution. And guys, one more thing which I'm going to tell you with this question, and I know this is an easy question. I'm taking a lot of time on this question, but I'm preparing you guys for the later questions as well, right? You can just have another logic for this question, which is of just one line. I will tell you why. See, the thing is, I told you guys that if I put 1, 2, 3, 3, all these 4 numbers into a set, the set will have just 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3, right? All right. Our nums is having 4 numbers. Our set is going to have 3 numbers, right? From here, we can say that if we have a duplicates in our data, the set will contain less number of elements than the nums, right? Because the duplicates data are going to be eliminated, right? So instead of all these things, what I can do is I can say return length of my nums more than length of set of nums, right? I am passing my nums array in a set. This particular set is going to store some elements, but if there are some duplicates, it will be eliminated, right? So this length will be less. So this condition will be true if the length is less, length of the set is less. If there is a duplicate, this condition will be true, and we need to return true, right? So I can just say return true, right? If the length of nums is more than length of set of nums, I can just run this. I know this is going to pass all the test cases. Yes, the sample are passed, and I can just submit this, and this is going to pass all the test cases, right? So that's the way you can solve this particular problem. This is the best way, which I'm showing you right now on the screen. But the logic, you will have to understand the logic as well. This is the main logic, right? So that's the first question, and we have solved this. And let's now move to the next question. Our second question is valid anagram. Let me just open this question. We have solved the first one. That's a good start. What about this question? Okay, I think I have seen this question on LeetCode, and guys, the NeetCode questions are actually the questions which are there on LeetCode, and this is actually going to prepare us for a lot of different patterns, right? So I hope the goal is clear that why are we doing this, right? Now let's move on to this question, valid anagram, and this question is about given 2 strings s and t, return true if 2 strings are anagrams of each other, otherwise return false. So there are 2 strings, and those 2 strings like s and t, we need to find are they anagram of each other or not. Now you will notice that what is an anagram? An anagram is a string that contains the exact same characters as another string, but the order of the characters can be different. So I get it, what the question is all about. We are given 2 strings s and t. We need to find are they anagrams? They can be anagram if they have the same set of characters in them. The characters can be in different orders, but the characters has to be same. For example, I can say maybe I have 2 words. The 2 words are, let's say, car, and other word is ACR. Now both these words are having some characters. I know these words are not same, right? This is car, this is ACR, right? But they have the same characters, A, C, and R. Now you cannot call this anagram. That's because it has a C, it has a A, it has a R, but it has one extra R. Because in the question you will see that it says that it contains the exact same characters as another string, but the order of the characters are only different. It will have the same characters, orders might be different. That's completely fine. One of the example is jar and jam. They are not anagram because it is J is in both the strings, A is in both the strings, but here we have R, here we have M, right? They are not matching. These 2 strings are fine. Let me actually write it here. It is race car and car race. All right, I think they are same. This is race. All right, let me take this one, race car, and we have car race, right? So we have R, we have A, we have C, we have E, we have C, we have A, and we have R. So all the characters are matching in both the strings, so they are anagrams, right? So again, what's the process, what's the thought process we can think? That's the first thing we need to have in our mind, that if you see this question, how can you find that these characters, these strings have the same set of characters? I mean, the first thing which I can actually think is, because in the interviews you will have to, again I'm telling you, you will have to think from the brute force approach. You cannot just jump to the optimal. If you know about the question, if you have solved it, you can jump, but if you have not, if you have never seen the question, you will actually have to go through some patterns or the brute force approach, right? So one of the things we can do is, we can actually, what I can think right now is, I can, for both the strings, start counting the number of characters we have. I mean the count of each characters. Like in this particular string, I have R 2 times, I have A, I think 1 and 2 times, I have C 2 times, I have E 1 time, right? I will do the same counting in this particular string. I know the counts will be same because they both are anagram. So I will do the counting for both the strings, and I can just compare the counts, right? I can just compare the counts that for each character which are present in both the strings, the count has to be same, right? So I don't know if I just have thought about the best or the optimal approach here. I think that's the optimal one. Okay, let's actually see in the question, that in the question they have mentioned the best recommended time complexity and space complexity. So they are saying that you should aim for a solution with O of n plus m time complexity and O of 1 space. So we should think about something which is of O of 1 space complexity. Alright, but right now what I can think is, if I have, let me jump to that iPad screen. If I have these two strings, maybe I can just have the count, right? Now, what more can you think? Okay guys, if you are thinking about something else, anything extra, anything other, anything special for this particular problem, or anything unique, then make sure that you put it in the comment box. That can help other viewers and that can help me as well, right? So right now I can just think about this. I can do the counting, and even this counting, I will tell you guys that even this counting which we are doing is O of 1 space complexity. Now you might think that, okay, we are actually storing some data. How is this O of 1? I will tell you why it is O of 1. Because the number of characters we have in an alphabet is 26. It is fixed, right? So I know that even if I create some space, this space is not going to have more than 26 characters, right? I am talking about this particular space which I want to create to get the count of each characters in my string. So right now, even if I get a string which has like 26 characters, 26 unique characters, the extra space which I am going to use, that extra space will not have more than 26 keys. Like the keys can be the characters, like these are my keys and these are the values. So even if I create some kind of hash map or some kind of dictionary, which is like HashMap is in Java, dictionary is in Python, if I'm just creating some kind of mapping in which I have a key, I have a value, the number of keys are not going to be more than 26, and that is why even if I follow this approach, it is optimal, right? O of 1 space complexity, I can say that. But what will you do when you have the count? Now the thing is, the question says that you need to solve it in O of n plus m time complexity. N is the length of the first string, m is the length of the second string. It means you just need to go through your string once. You should not aim for some kind of exponential time complexity or time complexity like n multiplied by m or n square. These kind of time complexity is not best. But we can actually do it in O of n plus m, and I will tell you how. I will tell you how can you think. First of all, the counting is straightforward, right? I mean, that's what we need to do. Both the strings should have the same count of each characters they have, right? In an alphabet, we know that we have 26 characters, right? So let me actually create an array instead of creating any kind of mapping, which we can do, but let's go for an array because we know that this section is about arrays and hashing. So let's go for arrays and hashing. Create an array of 26 characters. It will have like 0, 1, 2 up to 25. No, this last one is 25th index, right? So it will have 26 elements. The indexes are from 0 to 25, right? 0 is going to represent A, 1 is going to represent B, and 2 is going to represent C, and 25 will represent Z, right? So basically, let's create an array which is going to represent 26 characters of our alphabet. The question says that the string will only have lowercase English letters, right? I think I missed to tell you this particular part. You can check it in the question that we have a constraint. The strings are of lowercase English letters. So these lowercase English letters, we are having 26 letters, right? Now I think the array is going to store the count of each character of my string, right? So first of all, I can just store the count in for the first string, right? For the first string, what I can do is, okay, I can go through this R and I can increase the count for R. It will be, I think, initially it is going to be 0. That is, we have no characters. Then we are going to loop through our first string and we are going to say, okay, it is R. So let us say for R index, right? For the index which is representing R, I'm going to say it is 1 now. Then it is A, so we should have 1A, right? Then it is C, we should have 1C. Others are 0, right? then we have E, then we should have one E, right? So like this we need to create an array, and in the array I can store the count for each of my characters. For the first string I can increase the count, right? And for the second string I will try to decrease the count. For example, let us say I have a string AAB, another string is BAA. For this, if this is our first string, our first element in the array is going to be 2, second element is going to be 1, others are going to be 0. First is A, second is B. So we have 2A, 1B. Simple. Go through the array, create the count for each character in this array, and now go through the other array. It is B, so I am going to reduce the value. This is 1, this will become 0. This A will make it 1, this A will make it 0. Now in my array, all the elements are 0, right? So if all the elements are 0, it is telling me that the first string which added few characters was neutralized by the second string, and now we have an array in which there are no characters. It means this is an anagram. If all are 0, this is an anagram. If we have any number of 1 in our string or any number of -1 in our string, y-1 or y1, I will tell you. Let us say we have this BAA and we have one more A here, right? If this is our string, and let us say the first string is this, right? In this case we will have a 1 here, right? This particular data will represent the count of C. And what will happen when we are processing this, we will have 2A, 1B, 1C. When we are processing the second string, we will have 0 number of B because we have 1B here, so this 1 will be reduced to 0. We have 3 number of A, so this 2 will be reduced to -1, 2 minus 3, right? So it will be -1, and this C will remain 1. That is, we have one extra C in the first string, one extra A in the second string. They are not anagrams. So I think a lot of talking has already been done. Let me go back to the code editor and let me try to solve it. So what we can do is we can just first have a characters array. This is going to have 0 26 times, basically a array of 26 characters. And then I'm just going to run a simple loop for I in S. I'm going to run a simple loop on the first string, and I'm going to say the chars of the current character. Now one more thing guys, every character of a string has a ASCII value, right? Now the lowercase English alphabets have the ASCII value as 97 to 122. This 97 is for A, 122 is for Z, right? So what I can actually do is I can say chars, and then I should have a way to convert my current character I into ASCII value. So the way is, there is a function ord in Python. In this you need to pass your character. My character is I. Now this is 97, right? If I want to access the index for character A, this should be 0. I mean the 0 index of this is for character A, so I can say ord of I minus 97, and this is going to handle my indexing for each character, right? And this will be plus equal to 1. The count is going to increase, and now I can just run the same loop. I can just copy it. I can run the same loop in the second string. The second string is T, right? And this time I can say minus equal to 1, and now I need to return either true or false. I will return true if all the values are 0, right? So I can say for count in the chars, if count is not equal to 0, I can return false, right? If any of the value is not 0, I can return false. But if all the values are 0, I need to return true. That should be the good solution for this particular problem. Let's just run the sample test cases. I think the sample test cases should pass. Okay, it is actually passing all the sample test cases. I can now submit this, and this should pass all the test cases. So I can see that it is actually passing all the test cases. Yes, it is accepted. So we have solved this particular problem, and it is a very optimal solution as well. And it is a very clean code, right? That's more important, guys. You should have to write a very clean code. You should not just write anything which can just solve the problem, but the code has to be readable as well, right? So I think it is readable. I can now close this tab and move on to the third question, which is 2sum. Now I have already solved this 2sum problem on my channel in a very detailed manner, but now let's try to do it again. Let's go to 2sum, and in this problem, I know this problem. This is one of the classical LeetCode problem. In this problem, we are given an array of integers, and the integers is nums, and there is another integer target. We need to return the indexes I and j such that nums of I plus nums of j has to be equal to target, and I should not be equal to j. It also says that you may assume that every input has exactly one pair of indices I and j that satisfies the condition, and return the answer with the smaller index first. Alright, there are a lot of things. You can have this question in your mind, but the thing is you will have to remember another question, which is what we have already solved. This contains duplicates. We are going to take some advantage of the solution which we had in this particular problem, contains duplicate, and I will show you what. So we took this advantage of set, right? We are going to use this something like set again, not set but something like set. I'll show you, but for now let's focus on understanding the problem and thinking about how can you solve it. So the first thing is, it says that you have an array nums, right? And the target. All right. I want to find a value. Actually, I want to find two values from this particular nums. I want to find nums of I and nums of j such that when they are added, it is equal to the target. Also, the I and j should not be equal. It means you cannot choose the same element twice, right? Because I and j are the indexes which we need to return, and they are saying that I cannot be equal to j, so we cannot use the same element twice, right? All right. They also says that every input has exactly one pair of I and j such that the condition is true. It means we will have just one answer, okay? And we need to return the smaller index first. So we need to actually return I and j. We are going to return the smaller index first. I mean, that should be clear now. For the first input, we have nums as 3, 4, 5 and 6. I can say 3 plus 4 is 7, right? All right, I think that should be our answer. You can see the output is 0, 1. Basically 0, 1 are the indexes. So the index 0 is 3, index 1 is 4, 3 plus 4 is 7. So that should be our answer. Let's see the example number 2. It is 4, 5, 6. Now, one thing guys, I can say 5 plus 5 is equal to 10, right? That's our target. 5 plus 5 should be 10. But the thing is, they are saying that the indexes should not be same. Right now, I'm using the same index number 1 twice. So that should not be correct. Actually, we can say 6 plus 4 and that should be equal to the target, right? So our target is 10. 6 plus 4 is 10. So the indexes of 4 and 6 are 0 and 2. I mean, that should be very straightforward. What we can actually think right now is, the question says that we have exactly one pair of index that satisfies the condition. It means we definitely have an answer. And the answer is a pair of two numbers. Basically, we need to return the indexes, but the indexes are basically representing some numbers. So the answer or the actual numbers has to be a pair, right, in our nums array. A pair that can be a pair like 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 6, or 4, 5, 4, 6, or 5, 6. So actually we can just run two loops, right? I can say for I comma n, I will tell you why I comma n in enumerate in nums. Basically we want the number so that we can check the some condition to some condition, and we want the index as well because we need to return the index. And now I can say for j in, actually j comma n in enumerate. Basically enumerate is going to return the index and the number as well, right? So I can say j comma, let us say not n but m, in enumerate the nums, and if the I is not equal to j, and there is one more condition, I think we have, and n plus m is equal to target. That's what we need to do, right? We need to find two numbers such that it is equal to target. When added, they should not be at the same index, right? So this is how simple we can do it, but with two loops, right? We are right now having O of n square time complexity. I think the question is having this recommended time and space complexity as O of n time complexity, O of n space. Right now it is O of n square time complexity. Right now we are not having any extra space. No worries. If this condition is true, we got an answer, right? I can say return I comma j. I don't need to do anything outside of the loop because I know that I'm going to have an answer. The question says that you may assume that every input has exactly one pair of index. And now you might be thinking that what about this condition? We need to return the answer with a smaller index first. So you just need to focus on this solution that we are running two loops, right? The outer loop index will always be less than the inner loop index, right? You can run the code that is going to pass the sample as well as all the test cases. You can just submit this. It is going to pass all the test cases and it is good. But now there's a problem. The question says that you need to solve this in O of n time complexity, and it also says that you can take O of n space complexity as well, and we are actually going to utilize it. Now let me take you back to the tab and let me try to explain you something. Let's say we have four numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and let us say the target is actually 6 here, right? So here what we can actually do is, what we are actually trying to find out is, we are trying to find out two numbers such that when they are added, that will be equal to the target. So I know the target, right? The target is 6 or whatever it is given in the input. I want to find x, I want to find y. Let us say these are the two numbers, right? Let us assume that we know about this x. Let us say we know about that this is our x. Then do we know our y? Yes. If I know about x, I can know my y with the formula that y will always be equal to target minus x, this particular value, right? Now this particular value is something we can find out if we have the x, because we know the target, right? We know the target, we can find the x, then we will know the y. That is what we are going to utilize. I'm going to say that instead of running two loops, because right now we are running two loops, and what we are actually doing is we are saying create every pair, right? Create every pair of numbers, and whatever is the answer, just return it. It means 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. Then what we are doing is 2, 3, 2, 4, and yes, 2, 4 is our answer. We are going to return it. But you will notice here that what we are doing when we are saying that it is 1, 2 or 1, 3 or 1, 4, here what we are actually doing is we are saying that I'm assuming 1 is the x and this is my y, right? and for whatever x and y this formula will be correct, I will just return it, right? So I'm actually assuming that this is one of my answer. I just need to find the others, right? So what we can do is, instead of just running the entire loop, same what we did in the contains duplicate question, we can create a set where we can check that do we have a value. If yes, then I know that if I have a value, I can just directly return that, right? For example, this 1 is at index number 0, right? It is at index number 0, this is at index number 1, 2, 3, right? What I can do is, I can say, using my first loop, I can say this is my answer. This is the correct answer, right? Let us say this is one of the x. So y will be target minus x, right? Now here at this point, I will ask, do I have a target minus x in my array? Because the actual answer is 2, 4, right? I mean the indexes are 1, 3, but the numbers are 2, 4, which when added will be equal to 6. So when we are running a loop and our loop is right now pointing to this particular number, so at 2, we are saying that 2 is x, target is 6, 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. I am asking that, have I seen this 4? Yes, I have seen this 4, right? If that's the answer I am getting, that I have seen a 4, I can say that I have a 2, I have seen a 4, 4, 2 is going to be my answer, but we need to return the indexes, so we are actually not going to use a set to store this value. We are going to use something called as dictionary or hash map, right? What we are going to do is, we are going to say, okay, I have seen a number 4 at index 3, or maybe I have seen a number 2 at index 1, and I'm going to check that, okay, my y value based on the current variable x or the current value in my loop x is this. Do I have a y in this particular dictionary? If I have, I can take the index and I can return it, right? So what we can actually do it, we can just create a dictionary, and let us say that is equal to data, right? Data is equal to a dictionary. This is how we create a dictionary in Python, and then we can get rid of this loop, right? I can say if target, that's the target we have, target minus n, okay? If this target minus n is already there in my data, it is in my data. If this condition is true, I can say return I will be my current index, and the other index is actually going to be stored in this data. I can say data of target minus n. Basically, we are going to store the indexes for each of the key. The key is actually going to be our number, but right now we are not storing it, because when the condition will be false, we are going to store it. We are going to say data of target minus n is actually equal to the current index, so that later on when we actually find the correct pair, I can fetch the index which was stored in my data and I can return it. Now right now this is not perfect. Let me show you why. If I just run this, it is going to be a wrong answer, because the output we need is okay. Okay, right now we are not returning anything. Let's actually return it. No, we are actually returning. So what's the problem? Okay, the problem is we should say it like this. No, it should not be like this. This should be fine. Target minus n we are trying to store, and this will be equal to I. Then what's the issue? Let's see it from the error itself. The error says that your output was none, but expected was list. Okay, it means this condition is not true. That is why we are not returning anything. So when this condition will be true, this condition will be true. When we have target minus n in the data, this will be false. Then we are actually storing the target minus n. So why is it not working? Okay, let me try to think about it. Alright, so we are actually storing the wrong value. We should not store the target minus n. We should actually store the n, because what we are doing is we are saying that we have seen this value n, not target minus n, right? So that was one mistake we were doing. Just run it now, and now this should be good. What we are getting is expected output is 0, 1. Your output is 1, 0. Because what's happening is the index which is higher is actually this I, right? Because we are going to get our the pair later on. Let me actually try to show you what I'm trying to say. Let me show you here. Our actual pair here is 2, 4, right? The indexes are 1, 3. What we are actually doing is, when we are running a loop, let's say we are running a loop with 1, we are saying that, okay, if it is 1, my y should be 5, right? Because 1 plus 5 will be 6. Have I seen this 5 earlier? No, I have not. So I'm going to say, okay, if I have not seen this, I will store this 1 in my data. I will say 1 is at index number 0, so that later on if I see a 5, then I can actually say that, okay, I have seen a 1 at index 0, right? Similarly, for 2, you will ask for a value 4. We have not seen a 4 as of now. There is a 4, we have not seen it. So we are going to say 2 is at index number 1. And when we will reach to 4, it will say that, okay, target is 6 minus 4, y is 2. I need a 2. I have seen a 2. It is at index number 1. So you see the pair which we are finding, that pair has this value, the second value, the y value at a previous index, right? It is at the previous index. So what we need to do is, we need to return the smaller index, the previous index first. So let me go back to the code editor and let me actually do this. When we are returning, return this value first, comma I, right? This is our second index. run this, and this should pass all the test cases, and this should be the best optimal solution for this particular problem. And yes, it is accepted. Submit this. It is going to accept all the test cases. I hope yes, it is passed. So I think we are able to solve this question as well. So we have actually solved 3 questions, and all of them are very easy. I would say easy. The difficulty level is easy. Now we are going to focus on the medium level of questions, and trust me guys, the questions when it says medium, it should not, be treated as a medium, hard or easy. It is actually easy. When we say it is a medium level of questions, it is actually made up of 2 or 3 different easy concepts. When we say it is hard, it is actually made up of 3 or 4 easy concepts, or maybe 2 or 3 medium level of concepts. So it's like, if you know about easy concepts, if you can take them together, you can do the question, right? So let us try to do this group anagrams, and let us first try to read this question, and then we will try to solve it. The question says that given an array of strings strs, group all the anagrams together into sublist. I mean, that's what I told you guys. Right now we are trying to deal with anagrams. We have already seen an easy question on anagrams. So right now we are given a list, right? Earlier we were just given 2 strings. Right now we have a list of strings, and we need to group all the anagrams together into a sublist. And you may return the output in any order. An anagram is a string that contains the exact same character as other string, but the order can be different. We know what an anagram is, right? It is a string which has same characters. The characters are in different orders, but the characters are same. We need to just group the anagrams given in our input strings strs. We need to group these strings. What I mean to say is, in these strings there can be different anagrams, right? You need to group them in a single list and return a 2D list. In this 2-dimensional list, we will have each data as a list or a sublist, and the list is actually going to contain all the anagrams together. For example, we have this act and we have cat. Both are made up of one number of A, one number of C, and one number of T, right? So what we can do is we can say, okay, they both are anagram. They will be in a single list. So it has a list of 2 elements, act and cat. We have pots, stops, and stop. All these 3 words are having same number of characters. We have stop, stop. We have pots, we have stop. We have tops, which has stop, right? So we have a list, we have a sublist inside our output 2D array, and this sublist is containing 3 strings. All 3 are anagrams, and the hat is alone here because it doesn't have any other anagrams in our input. So I think the question is pretty much clear. We have a list of strings. We need to create a sublist of our given list, and each sublist is going to have different anagrams grouped together. Alright, I think the question is very straightforward. It should not be medium, but yes, it is medium, which is fine. But I have told you, medium level of question is nothing but easy plus easy. Maybe one more easy. That is, some easy concepts are there. You need to just combine it, and it will be solved. So right now we have a list, right? This is our input. In this input we have 1, 2, 3, let's say many strings, right? N number of strings. We have 1, 2, n number of strings, right? We need to group the strings together based on if they are anagrams. In an anagram, we have some characters, right? What we actually need to do is, we just need to store the count of our characters. I mean, let's take an example of the input. In the input, what we have is, we have act, we have pots, we have tops, we have cat, top, and hat, right? Now every set of string is having their own characters, right? We know that act and cat are anagram because they have the same characters, A, C, C, and T, T, right? For every string, what I can just right now think about is, for every string, I will now need to keep a track of what characters this string is made up of, right? So I can actually say that if it is act, it is made up of one number of A, one number of C, one number of T, right? This pots, we have one number of P, one number of O, one number of T, and one number of S, right? Similarly for other strings. A better way to do is using an array. That's what we have already done, right? Let's make an array, right? So we have already done this kind of question using an array, and this whole concept is about array, right? This whole section is about array. So what we can do is we can actually create an array of 26 characters, or 26 length, I would say. And in this array, each element is going to represent at different indexes a different English alphabet characters. We have English alphabet characters from A to Z. In this question, all the strings are going to be lowercase, right? So we have a total of 26 characters. For each of the string, I know that I will have to create a list or an array, and in this list I will have to count the number of characters in each of the strings. That's the first thing we need to do, right? Alright, let's actually do it, and then we are going to move forward to see that what more can we do with that particular data, right? So what I will do is I will say for s in strs. Basically I'm going to run a loop in my strings strs, right? And then for each of the s, for each of my string s, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's run a simple loop for I in s, I need to store this character I from my string s, their count in array of 26 length, right? So let's actually create a temporary array. Temp is equal to an array of 26 elements, I would say, right? So 0 multiplied by 26. As of now, all the character count is 0. Now what I can do is I can say temp of ord of I have already explained this concept. This is going to calculate the ASCII value of my current character minus 97. That's because 97 is the ASCII value of lowercase a, right? That's the first character. So for the first character, we are going to store it in the index number 0. I'm going to say plus equal to 1. That is, I have counted the number of character for my string s in temp array, right? Now the thing is, I will have to store this somewhere, right? I will have to store this somewhere so that I can actually, later on fetch this value to group my elements together. If two arrays are similar, right? If two arrays are same, I'm going to group them together, right? So how can you do it? Like, what do you think about this? Do you have some way? Can you think about something which is going to help you on this, right? That's the thing. So what can I actually think about right now is, let's actually create a dictionary, right? Let's create a data dictionary. This will be equal to dictionary, right? And in this dictionary, we are going to store our values. The values are basically the array, right? I can say the data of temp is equal to a list, right? Because every common array, every same array, right? Same array means if I have two words, act and cat, for both of them, the array will be same. It will have one number of a, one number of c, one number of t. So same array will have the common strings stored, right? So I can say data of temp should be equal to a list, because we need to return a list for every group. Temp means the array which is representing the count. Every count is a different group, right? The different elements in the same group will have the same count. So I can say data of temp will be equal to some kind of list, and in this list I'm going to store my values. But the problem is, how do you do it? How can you do it, right? Like, what's the way to do it? Now there is a concept called as default dictionary in Python. I will solve it using default dictionary, but if you are from some other programming background, from some other programming language background, what you can do is you can say if this temp, you will have to implement this kind of logic that if this temp, this particular data is in my or I say in data, if this temp is in my data, it means I have already seen this temp. So I can say data of temp dot append my current string, else data of temp will be equal to the current string. What we are doing is, what we are trying to do for this temp, for this array, if I have seen this array in my data, in my dictionary, it means that I already have some string which is having this same set of characters. So now I got another string which is having the same set of characters. They are anagrams. Let's group them together. So this time, if I already seen this data, then data of temp, I will append this current string in my data of temp. But if we have not seen it, then we have to initialize the value, and this will be equal to a new list having one element, the current string, right? And guys, right now there's a problem. Right now there is a problem, and if you are from a very strong Python background, you must have got this particular issue. The issue is here that we are trying to store this temp as a key in my data. Temp is a list. List is not allowed as a key. List is a mutable data. It can be changed. In a list, we can change a value. We are actually changing values here, right? In a list, we can change a value. So we need an immutable data as a key in our dictionary. That's the rule. So we need to convert this temp into some kind of immutable data. And now I can say temp is equal to tuple temp. Basically, tuple is immutable, and that's where we can use it. So here I am trying to create a list. Then I just turn it into a tuple, and it looks good. As of now, the code is good. We just now need to return our values, right? Basically, the different values which this data is storing. Right now, if I just try to print my data, right now it is not complete, but right now if I just try to print my data, let us see the standard output we are getting. The output is we have a tuple as a key, and the values are act and cat. These values are together because for them the array is same. We have one number of a and one number of c, right? We have another tuple. In this one we have one number of p, one number of o, one number of s, one number of t. Pots, stops, stop, all three strings are now together. Similarly, this hat is isolated from all other strings, right? So basically we have grouped our anagrams together. We just need to return this list, the values in our dictionary, as a list, right? So basically we have a function for this. We can just return the values in our list. We can say return data dot values as a list, right? I can say list. This is going to pass all my test cases, and this should be the final code for this particular problem. I can submit this. I will show you the complete code, and yes, it is accepted. So we have not done anything fancy. We have not done anything which we have not seen as of now. We know how to count the characters in my current string, right? This is the way to count the characters. We know about data. We know about dictionary, right? We can store our values in the dictionary, and later on we can just return it. but how you should connect the different things which you should know or which you know, that's the main thing when you are trying to solve any medium level of question. Now there is something called as default dict in Python, in which I will eliminate this logic. I can directly say data of temp dot append s. What it does is it creates a default dictionary. That is, if you are trying to do some kind of operation, it already knows that any data in this particular dictionary is going to be a list, because I am saying that default dictionary, the default values are going to be a list, and every data in my data dictionary is going to be a list. So I can just directly access the value temp, even though it doesn't exist. It knows that it will be an empty list. We are trying to append the value of s. That's the thing you have to understand about default dictionaries. So that's the complete solution. That's the best solution in Python for this particular problem. And we have solved one more question, and this was a medium level of question. So now I think we have solved 4 questions. Let's try to solve the next one, which is top k frequent elements. All right. I think I'm excited about this particular series because I don't know how good or how bad the response is going to be, but I'm actually enjoying the process of solving these questions, and especially when I'm trying to solve these questions in a way that I don't know about these questions or I have not seen this. So it's very exciting, guys. Let's try to solve the next one, which is top k frequent elements. The question is, given an integer array nums and an integer k, return the k most frequent elements within the array. The test cases are generated such that the answer is always unique. Okay, we will just have one unique answer, and the answer we need to give is, we need to find the top k frequent elements in my nums array, which is given in the input. We need to return the k most frequent element within the array, right? So we have an array and we have an input k. Let us say that the array is 1 2 2. In the example number 1, it is 1 2 2 3 3 3, and the value of k is 2. It means that in this array you need to return the 2 most frequent elements. Now, what is frequent or frequency? It's a very easy term. Frequency means how many times have you seen this number, or how many times this number is in my array. We have one number of 1, two number of 2, three number of 3. So the most two top frequencies are 2 and 3, right? In the second example, we have 7,7. Okay, I don't see the examples are good. The examples are not good. Let me try to show you some example which is actually making some sense. So let us say the nums array is 1 2 5 2 8 5 5 2, right? Now, if you have the value of k is equal to 2, it means you need to find the 2 elements from this array which has the most frequency, right? The top 2 frequent elements. In this particular array, we have this one number of times, right? In the whole array, we have just one number of 1. We have 2 as well, right? We have 1 2 3 number of 2s in my array. We have 1 2 3 number of 3 number of 5 in our array. Let me actually have one more 5 so that we can have 4 number of 5, right? This will be easy to explain, right? And we have one number of 8, right? This is our key, this is our frequency. Tell me, what is the most frequent element, the top 2 frequent element, the top 2, right? So we have 5 because that is 4 number of times. We have 2, that is 3 number of times. The top 2 frequencies are 4 and 3, right? So the output is going to be 2, 5, or I would say 5, 2, right? Is that the output it needs? Yes, I think that's the output it needs, right? Because it says that you may return the output in any order. So I can say 2, 5 is fine, 5, 2 is fine. These two elements are having the most frequencies. The frequencies are 4 and 3, right? Again, the question is medium. But if I am asking you, have you seen any concept? If you can think about the solution, have you seen any concept which you have not seen, which might be required in this problem? I don't think so. We need to count the frequencies, right? Okay, we can count the frequencies. We need to find the top 2 frequencies. Can you find it? Yes, we can find the top 2 frequencies as well. How can you do it? That's the question, right? All right. The first thing is, let's count the frequencies of our array. We can actually do it using a dictionary in which the key will be our element, the value will be our count of those elements, right? Now, I will tell you about something which is in collections, Python collections. I'm sure there might be something similar in Java or C++ or other programming languages. What it can do is, it can actually do the counting quickly. You have some inbuilt function. But how can you actually do the counting? See, the thing is, we can say, okay, let's create a data dictionary, or let us create a counter dictionary. Okay, counting dictionary. Counting is equal to a dictionary, and it is empty as of now. Let's run a loop for n in counting. If we have already seen an n in our counting dictionary, then we can say counting of n is plus equal to 1. We can increase the count. Else, we can say counting of n. We have right now seen this particular n. We have not seen it previously, so its frequency is going to be 1. This is how you can store the count of your elements in the data, in the dictionary. And if I just try to print this counting, this will have the count of each of my element, right? You can see that we have, okay, the standard output is empty. I don't know why. Let me see. For n in counting, okay, we are saying for n in counting, it should be in our nums array, right? So for n in nums, now I think it should work. All right. So we have one number of 1, two number of 2, 3 number of 3, right? Can I actually change the inputs? Let's try. I don't know if I can change the input here. Okay, we can do it, right? So let me just do one more thing. Add one more 3 and try to run the input. Try to run the problem, and you can see one number of 1, two number of 2, and 4 number of 3. This 3 is the element we have. This 4 is the count, right? So we have 4 number of 3. So right now we can just do the counting in this particular way, and it is very straightforward. One more thing, what you can do is to improve this. Instead of dict, you can say default dict. We can create a default dictionary of integer. Every element in my dictionary is going to be an integer, because we are actually trying to store an integer as a value, right? 1, 2, and 4. So I can say the default value will be integer. So right now I will not need any if else condition. This should work. Counting of n will be plus equal to 1. The default value will be 0. So whenever it will see a new element, it is going to say okay, plus 1, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 2 to 3, right? So it is going to store the frequencies. If you print the value right now of counting, it will be same. So guys, I'm not only trying to explain you about the the arrays and hashing and the problems, but I'm trying to explain you some concepts which are going to help you solve the question easily, instead of trying to do the same thing again and again. So now you can see we have a default dictionary. 1 is 1 number of time, 2 is 2 number of time, we have 3, 4 number of times, right? So this is one of the way as well. And instead of doing all this, I have a class called as counter. This is actually present in the collections module of Python, and in the counter I can pass my nums, and that's it. It is done. Our counting array or our counting dictionary is created, right? Now you will see that we have 4 number of 3, 2 number of 2, 1 number of 1, right? So if you are having some this kind of problem, don't try to recreate the wheel again. Don't try to do the counting. Just use this counter, right? It is going to help you a lot. Now what are we going to do with this counter? We need to find the most frequent elements, right? We need to find some frequent elements from my data. Now there are a lot of ways you can do it. Let me try to explain you what's the best approach, okay? And instead of trying to explain you the best approach, let me make you think about that best approach. Maybe you can yourself think about that best approach. So my complete focus is make you skillful in that way that you can even think about a solution by yourself, instead of just knowing the solution. So right now let's say this is our map. This is our counting map. Let me actually copy this and let me take it below. Okay, this is my map. Let us say we have 1 number of time, 2 3 number of time, 5 4 number of time, and 8 1 number of time, right? If I ask you what's the 2 or what's the k most frequent element, you will say okay, let me run a loop in my data. This is the highest, right? 4 is the highest, that will be in my data. Then 3 is the highest, right? If I'm asking for the 3 most frequent, you can say okay, it is 5 2 and maybe 1, right? Although the question says that we will have a unique solution, so let us say we have one more 1 here. So right now our map will look something like this. Our map will have 2 number of 1s, right? So if I'm asking top 3 frequent elements, you will say okay, it is 5 then 2 then 1, right? But in reality, how do you actually find it? In reality, this is not that easy. If you will go through your values, you will see that you will actually need to sort your values, do some sorting. And sorting means that you will sort your data based on this, right? You will sort this data and you will then return the three most frequent element, right? Or let us say if you will sort it, maybe let us say you have sorted it, okay? After sorting, this is something like okay, we have 4 number of 5, we have 3 number of 2, we have 2 number of 1, we have 1 number of 8, right? This is the frequency. This is the 5 2 1 8 are the elements. Let us say we are having this kind of data after sorting, okay? Let's say we have sorted it and converted it into a a list, some kind of list. Now I need the 3 most frequent elements. I will say okay, this is the first, this is the second, this is the third, right? I will just say 5 2 1, 5 2 1. This can be my answer. I am just following a logic, a loop, or a flow which is not having any extra thoughts. I'm not thinking about anything extraordinary. If I have this with me, I want 3 most frequent elements, I will have to do the sorting, right? There is no other way. There is one more way, which is actually based on a data structure called as heap. Now before I go into this, if you know about heap, you might have just got the hint and you might have thought about the solution. I will tell you the solution, but let me actually tell you why should you think about this. Basically, heap is a data structure in which if you will fill the elements in a heap and you will ask the heap that what's the least element, what's the minimum element, or what's the maximum element. Basically, when a heap can give you a minimum element, it is called min heap. If it can give you the max element, it is called a max heap. So let us say we have a min heap, okay? Although we need the k most frequent, let us say we have a min heap. Min heap means if you ask the heap that what's your first element, it will give you the minimum element. If you ask the heap, okay, now I got the first, take it out of your data, take it out or take it out of your heap. What's the next minimum element? That's what we can do. That is, in this heap, if I store 2 3 4 1 the frequencies, and I am asking the heap that what's the minimum element, it will give me 1. After asking it, let's actually remove it as well. So basically we are popping out the value which is minimum. So we will remove this 1, we will get 1, we will remove 2 because now we have just 2, 3, 4. Out of this the minimum is 2, so we got the 2, then we have 3, then we have 4. So we are getting the data in the sorted order, and that's what we need, right? And that's why I told you that sorting is the only thing we can think about, because I need the k most frequent element. The k can be 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know what's the value of k, so I will have to sort my data to get the most frequent elements, the first k elements, right? Now I can do the sorting, but it's better that we understand about this heap data structure, because that is going to help us a lot. I can just do the sorting and solve it, and that is not going to help a lot, because sorting is a concept which is relatively easier as compared to heap, right? So maybe you know about sorting, let's know about heap as well, right? And that's actually the best solution for this. Even if you are able to solve it using sorting, your interviewer might want you to solve it in some other way, because he might want to know about, do you know about heap or not, right? So actually let's try to know about this. In this heap, what we are going to do is we are actually going to push our data. We are not only going to push the frequencies, because although we need to do the comparison using the frequencies, we actually need to return the elements itself. So we need to send both the values in our heap. So what we can do is we can send the value 1, 2 in the heap. We'll say okay, 1, 2, then we have 2, 3, then we have 5, 4, then we have 8, 1. But here is the problem. The comparison needs to be on the first element, right? The comparison will actually be done using the first element. You can customize these functionalities, that do you want the comparison using the second or the first or which element, but let's keep it simple. The comparison will be done using the first element. So instead of pushing the actual element in the first place in our heap, so instead of storing it like 1, 2, we are going to store it in the opposite way, so that the comparison can actually be done using the frequencies. So we are going to say 2, 1, then 3, 2, then 4, 5, then 1, 8. That means these are the frequencies, these are the elements. Out of this, if I'm asking what's the minimum element, it will tell this is the minimum element, because for this element, the first element is the smallest. Now you might be confused that why is this guy trying to find the minimum element? We need to find the maximum elements, the elements with the most frequencies, top 3 elements, top k elements, right? So while storing, we just need to have a small trick. Instead of storing the actual frequencies, which is actually 2, 3, 4, 1, can you think about something which can help us while storing our data, which can help us fetch the maximum value first using the same min heap concept? Because in Python we have this min heap, we have a heap data structure already created, but by default it behaves like a min heap. It gives the minimum element first. So what can you do in this data, how while storing, so that it gives the maximum element first? Any trick you can think about? So there is a mathematical saying that if you have a number 4, if this is more than 3, minus 4 is actually going to be less than 3, right? 4 can be more than 3, but minus 4 will always be less than 3, right? So instead of storing the actual frequencies, store the negative frequencies, right? Because we are right now storing and we are actually fetching it from here. We will fetch it from here, and when we will fetch this, right now, when you are trying to fetch the minimum element out of it, this is going to be the minimum, right? Minus 4, 5, the first element of all these elements, of all the 4 data in our heap. For this particular data, the first element is the smallest, right? When we are asking for the first element, we need to actually ask for k elements, right? K is equal to 3 as of now. That is top 1, top 2, top 3 frequent elements. When we are asking for the first element, we are actually going to get this one, minus 4, 5. We will say, okay, now we have the element. Out of this, I can extract the minus 4 and make it plus 4. Now this is gone from our data, from our heap. What's the second most frequent? So we have 3 elements now, minus 2, minus 3, minus 1. Which is the smallest? Minus 3 is the smallest, and in reality, the frequency 3 is actually the highest, right? So we are getting what we need. So I can say the second is actually going to be this one. From this we can extract this value and it will be plus 3. We are going to convert it to plus 3. And the third will be this one, right? We are going to extract the value and the frequency is actually going to be plus 2, right? But the thing is, in this question, we are actually need to return the elements. The elements are 5, 2 and 1. Even if after extracting the value, if you do not make it positive, that is completely fine, because we actually need these elements, right? So now let me actually go back to the code editor and let me try to solve it to show that how it is going to work. So I'm going to implement the heap functionality in Python. Again, if you are from Java, C++ or other programming languages, you need to implement the heap functionality in Java or whatever language you are using. So I can say heap is equal to, let's create a heap which is empty as of now. Now what I can do is, first of all, let me actually store the values in this heap list. The name is heap. Right now it is not a heap, it is a list. The name is heap, right? Now I want to store the values. So I can say for num, comma, count. This is basically the key. This is the value in our counting dictionary. I can say for num, comma, count in counting dot items. This is going to return, this function is going to return the key and the value, which is num, comma, count. and now I need to store this in my heap. So I will say minus count comma num, right? I know that this is a a list. How can you convert this list into a heap data structure? I can say heap queue. This heap queue is a module in Python. It is already imported on platforms like NeetCode or LeetCode. You don't need to import it. But in a real world, when you are actually implementing this in your own system, in your own software, then you will have to say import heap queue. It is already imported, but in your own application you will have to import it. So I will have to say heap queue.heapify. Let me heapify my current dictionary. Let me convert my heap list into a heap data structure. For that I can say heap queue.heapify my heap. And now I just need to return the top k elements, right? I can say what are the top k elements? I can say for I in the range of k. Okay, now this loop is going to run for k times, right? It is going to run for k times. What I need to return is I need to return the number, right? This num. Now to fetch the value from the heap in the min heap format, that is the minimum element first then the next minimum element. To do this, you will have to say heap queue dot heap pop. You are popping out the element and the least element is going to be popped out first. In this I need to pass my heap. This is my heap, right? Heap queue dot heap pop this from this current heap, and what we are actually getting is this value minus count comma num. I just need the num which will be at the index number 1. Now we got our data. I just need to return this and I can say run, and this is going to pass the test cases. I think it should pass. I hope we do not have any error. Yes, it is accepted. So this should be the best code for this particular problem. Now let's try to solve the next question. The next question is, okay, we have not submitted this. Let's submit this. This should be correct. Yeah, this is correct, right? So we have solved this as well. Now let us try to solve the next question, which is encode and decode strings. All right, this is going to be interesting. I have seen this question and it is very interesting. Let us design an algorithm to encode a list of strings to a single string, and the encoded string is then decoded back to the original string, to the original list of strings. So we need to just implement two functions, encode and decode. Basically what it wants is, if it gives you a list of strings and it tries to encode the list of strings using your encode function, you should be able to encode it, right? After encoding it, if you need to return back the string. You need to return that, okay, I have encoded this particular array of strings in this single string. Now using that single string, if it try to pass that single string in the decode function, it should return back the original string which was passed. I mean, this is very straightforward. Let me actually try to explain you. Basically, you know about something called as something called as encoding and decoding, right? Basically what happens is, let's say you have some kind of information. Let's say this is some info, right? If you encode this info, this will be converted to some other form, right? This is some other form, right? This is some information which cannot be read by everyone. Now you need to decode it, and when you will decode it, you will get the original information back. That's what encoding and decoding is all about. What we need to do is, we are given a list of strings, right? We are having a lot of strings in a list. The question wants that it has two functions, encode and decode, right? Let me show you. We have two functions, right? Encode, which is going to accept a list of string and return a string. Decode is going to accept a string and return a list of string, right? So what I can do is, I can say, okay, I have an encode function which is going to take this list and convert it to a single string. I have this decode function which is going to accept this single string and it is going to convert it back to this particular list. So the question was that, do anything, okay? I just want that, give me a string from this encode function such that I can pass it in the decode and can get my list back. This is very interesting, guys. Now one of the thing is, let me actually show you. If this is your input, that's the output you are going to get. Don't worry about the input. Let me go back to the tab. Let me try to explain you. Let's say you have a list of 4 strings, neat, and then you have code, then you have lover, and what more you have? Let me see. Okay, it is you. Okay, let's say you, neat, code, lover, you. Now if this is being passed to the encode function, you need to return a string. Let us say what we are doing is, we are saying, okay, neat underscore code underscore lover underscore you. This is what you pass. This is what you return from your encode function. Now you might say that, okay, I will encode it in this way. I will just append or I will just join all my strings using an underscore. Fine. Can you decode it back? Now you will say, okay, while decoding it, I will say, okay, just create a list of strings by splitting it with the underscore. But here is the problem. The question says that the characters in the strings are UTF-8 character. UTF-8 is an encoding, and basically it means that this underscore can actually be the part of your string. So let us say your string is not neat. Maybe your string is ne_et. That's your string. So when you will just give it back as an encoding, then it will be ne_et_code_lover_u. These these three underscores are your separators. This is actually the part of your string, but how do you recognize it? I mean, if you will split it, it will be ne_et code lover u. Code lover u is fine, but ne_et is not fine. It is actually ne_et, right? So you will have to think something smart. All right. Now, what is the thing you can think which is actually going to differentiate these strings, right? Basically, I will have to return something. Let's actually make it back to neat, because I think you got the concept that we cannot just use some kind of hash underscore directly and separate it. What I can actually do is I can say that neat has to be there, code has to be there, lover has to be there, u has to be there, but they should be separated by something through which I can know that okay, the next characters are my strings in the original list. That is, if I'm creating a string neat code lover u, then they should be separated by something so that I can distinguish while decoding. I can distinguish that these are different, right? That's the thing we need to do, right? I mean, we have to think about something, right? All right, I cannot use an underscore, I cannot use hash or any other symbol because they can be the part of my string. What more can you think? What can separate two different strings? What is something which can distinguish between two different strings? One of the thing is length, right? String has a length. Every string has a length. I can say the length of neat is 4. Let me put 4 before neat. Let me put 4 before code as well, because the length of code is 4. Let me put 5. That's the length of lover, and let me put 3 here. So our final string is actually going to be 4 neat, 4 code, 5 lover, 3 u. I can say, all right, this is my encoded data. What is my decoded data? I can say, okay, I'll just go through my data, right? This is my length. The first element is always going to be my length, right? That's my length. It means the next 4 characters are for sure one of my string. Then again the next one is going to be the length for sure. The next 4 characters are going to be my string. This is again going to be the length. This is going to be my string. This is going to be the length. This is going to be my string. All right. I think that looks good, right? It looks good. Let's try to implement it. All right. First, we will try to do the encoding. For that, I can say result is equal to an empty string. As of now, it is empty. I can say for s in strs, I can say result is equal to result plus this empty string will be updated with my strings s, and before my actual string s, I will put the length of my s, right? I can put the length. Now, just to avoid the error which we have in Python, we cannot add numbers and strings together. I will convert this length into a string, and this is my encoding. Now I can just return the value of result. It looks good as of now. All right, let's try it. Can we decode it? All right. If we are trying to decode it, we should have a list. We need to return a list. So let us create a list. Data is equal to empty list. My starting index is going to be 0, right? And this starting index is for sure going to be a number which is representing the length of my first string, right? In my actual original array or the list. So I can say while my current index is less than the length of my actual string, while I am looping through my string, this condition will be true and this while loop will run. And now what we can do is we can say, okay, this is my current index. Now I will have a length, right? The length will be my current index, right? The element at my current index in the string. So s of index will be the length, right? For example, let me actually go back to the tab. If this is my string, in this is the index number 0 and this is the length, right? So I'm just trying to fetch the length. The length will be s of index, right? Then what we can do is we can say, once we have the length, what we can do is we can say my current string will be my first string or the second or the next string is actually going to be s of index plus 1 up to index plus 1 plus length. Now what I mean by this is, let me actually go back to the tab. See, the thing is, this is the index number 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, right? Index 1, 2, 3, 4 are my actual word, actual character of my first word, right? This is my length. Right now I am at index number 0. I am saying I got a length of 4. All right, from the index number 0 plus 1, the next character, right? From this index up to 0 plus 1 plus 4, that is index number 5. From index number 1 to index number 4, not 5. In Python you will have to say 1 to 5. This will actually fetch 1, 2, 3, 4. This is not included, and that is why I am saying I can say from my current index plus 1, which is 0 plus 1. From this I need to go to index plus 1, which is 1 plus the length 4. This is going to represent my actual string. So I had to fetch my actual string in my list, in my original list, which was actually given to the encode function. So this is how I can fetch the current string, and now I can say data dot append this current string in my list, which is something I'm going to return. Now I can say let's move on to the next index, but this will not be equal to index plus 1. It will actually be equal to plus length as well, because the part of the string which we have already covered, which we have already got, if this is my current index, this is 0. 4 means that skip the next 4 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be your next index. This is at index number 6. So you should point to the next index, which is at index number 6. Right now the index is 0. So 0 plus 1 plus 4, that's the length. It is equal to 5. Okay, I think it is equal to, I think it is either length, I think it is the index number 5. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is 5. Alright, that was just a simple counting mistake. But when we are at index number 0, we found the length. The next index we should process is current index plus 1 plus the length, right? Plus 1 because we need to move forward, plus 4 because we need to skip 4 characters as well. Those are our first string. Then we will have the next string, right? Alright, as of now it looks good. So we move to the next string, we move to the next index, and now I can just say return data. That's because after this loop is completed, I will have all my strings, right? As of now it looks good. I can just run this and let's hope it pass all the test case, but no, it is wrong answer. Okay, my output is empty. It was expecting something. Okay, why this is happening? I'm saying return data. It is not able to return this data. It means we are actually doing something which is not correct. Are we doing something which is not correct? We have this length of s. Okay, so the error is unsupported operation between int and str, because we are saying index plus 1 plus length, and actually this length is coming from a string. So this length is actually a string. So we need to convert it to an integer, right? We need to convert our current length to an integer. Maybe then we can try to do the same. Alright, let me run the code and let's see if it passes the test cases. Yes, it is passing the sample test cases. So let's submit this. Let us see if it passes all the test cases. But no, I was expecting this. I think if you have already solved this, then you might have expected this as well, that no, this is not perfect. Although it looks perfect, there is an issue with this. There is a test case for which it is failing, right? I mean, it is passing for 4 test cases, not for other 16. That's because right now what we are doing is, we are doing a mistake. We are assuming that length is equal to my current index. There is something wrong here, right? Length is actually not equal to my current index. That's because if I go to the question says that my string length can be up to 100. That is, the length of my string can be 10, 11, 12, 100, up to 100, right? Which is of 2 digits. Or if it is 100, then it is of 3 digits, right? My string length can be up to 3 digits, and I am right now assuming that my string length is just of 1 digit. I'm just fetching it from a particular index, right? What I'm trying to say is, let's say we have a string, and that string is this one. Let me write it. It is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. It has around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 characters, right? If I do the encoding, then this will actually be equal to 10. Let me take some other color. So it will be 10. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. This is the string. If we follow the same algorithm, 4 means the length. Next 4 characters are neat. Fine. This is the length. Next 4 characters are code. Fine. This is the length now, right? The next index is the length, which is nothing but 1. But the length is 10, or it could be 100, right? So the thing is, I am not sure the length is 1 digit or 2 digit or maybe 100 characters 3 digit, right? So I will have to, think about something, some encoding, or while decoding, I can think about something so that I may fetch all the length, and then I can, fetch my next string. Now you cannot just, keep fetching just numbers. Maybe your original string has a number, right? If your original string has a number 4, EET, then if you just keep fetching the numbers to say that that's your length, then the length is going to be 44, right? The length is just 4. The next 4 characters are your string. So the encoding doesn't look fine. There is a problem with the encoding. I will have to think about something which can do the separation between the word and the length. So if I want to separate something, I will have to add some character, and I can say, instead of adding the length, add the length underscore the word. The word is neat. Now the length underscore the word is code. The length underscore the word, which is this one, right? A, B, C, D up to I, right? How is this going to help? The thing is, I know that the first character is always going to be the length, right? The next character could be the length as well. For example, for this case, the first character is 1, then it is 0, both of which is a part of the length, right? Basically, the length is 10. And the moment I am getting this underscore, it means that my length is done. Before this underscore, whatever the characters were, those are my length. So I can say 4 is my length because after 4 I got an underscore. Now even if this was an underscore, you might say, hey, if this is an underscore, what happens in that case? This should be 4 underscore underscore EET, right? No worries. 4 means the length. This underscore means yes, 4 is my length. Up to 4 is the length. The next 4 characters, we are not going to see the characters. We are just going to say the next 4 characters is my word, right? So that's something we need to enhance in my decoding, first in my encoding. So after the length, I can say plus and underscore. And now I am not sure that my length is of just one character. So I will have to, enhance my logic. So let us say that the starting index is equal to index. That's where we are starting from. And now run a loop while my current element s of index, if it is not equal to underscore, it means that the next character of my string, the encoded string, is also the part of my length, the length of the word in my array. So I can say while it is not equal to underscore, I can just say that index plus equal to 1. And once we get an underscore, and we are going to get an underscore because we have explicitly added it in our encoding, and then we can say the length is actually not equal to index, it is actually equal to from the start to the index. That should be enough, right? The problem was with the length. The moment we are able to find the length, we will be able to find the word, and now you can just submit this, and this is going to pass all the test cases. Yes, this is accepted, right? So we are able to solve this question as well, and I think it's a good start. It's a good start to this series because we are able to solve the questions, and I think we are able to do it in a really good way. But we still have 1, 2, 3, 3 questions which are actually the part of arrays and hashing. So let me actually open all these 3 questions in different tabs. Okay, so we have product of array except self, we have valid Sudoku, and we have longest consecutive sequence. We are going to solve them one by one. All right. So let me first solve this product of array except self. In this particular problem, we are given an array, integer array nums, and we need to return an array output where output of my current index I is the product of all elements of nums except nums of I. Okay, I'll have to read this again because I'm just continuously, trying to solve the question for the past 2 hours. And it is just, draining my mind a bit. So let me actually read it again. Given an integer array num, so we are given an array nums, and we need to return an array output. We need to give an output as an array only, where output of I, that is the current index of I, is the product of all elements of nums except nums of I. Oh, okay, I got it. The follow-up is, okay, the thing is, each product is guaranteed to fit into the 32-bit integer, so you are not going to worry about the integer size, and we need to solve it in O of n time without using the division operation. And now that's tricky, right? We need to use division, but we are not allowed to use division. Okay, forget about that. Let's try to solve it. Then we will see, can we solve it without the division operator? First of all, let's see the example. Let me actually try to show you the example on the tab itself. So what we have right now is we have an example in which the elements are, the input is, okay, let me take some other color. The input is 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? We have 4 elements in our array, and what the output it wants is, it wants an array of 4 elements only. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 elements only. Every element is going to be the product of all the elements in the original array except the element itself, right? At this index, the element is 1. At this index, the element is 2. At this index, the element is 3. At this index, the element is 4. It means that at this position, it will be 2, 3, 4. 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4. This is equal to 24, I think. Yes, it is 24, right? So yes, this should be 24. Then we have this particular index at which the element is 2, right? So we have to say 1 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4, which will be 12. Then we have this index at which the element is 3, so it will be 4 multiplied by 2, which is 8. And at this, we should have 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1, which is 6. So yeah, this should be the output for this given input. Let me clear the input. The input looks a bit bad as of now. Yeah, so this should be the output, right? I mean, it looks very straightforward, guys. I mean, what we need to do is we just need to find the number. We need to, change this to a number which is actually equal to the product of other numbers. So I think it is a basic mathematics questions. Let us say we have 4 number a multiplied by b multiplied by c multiplied by d, and the output is, let's say, f. If I want the value of f without this multiplied by d, I will have to say divide by d, right? If I just take it here, then we can say f divided by d will actually be equal to a multiplied by b multiplied by c. We need to find this, right? For any element d, for any element in my array, we need to find the product of other numbers. So if I can have the product of all the numbers first, that is 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, which is equal to 24, then what I can do is I can say for this 24 divided by 1 is 24, For this, 24 divided by 2 is 12, 24 divided by 3 is 8, 24 divided by 4 is 6. I mean, that's the basic formula I have utilized. A, B, C, D. A multiplied by B multiplied by C multiplied by D is this one. That's F. Divide it with the current D and it will find what's the product of other numbers without D. Let us say our D is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. We are going to store it in our data. Let's actually try to do it. Okay, let's actually start. Even if we are wrong, even if we are using the division operator, let's actually try to first implement this. Okay, so I can say the full is equal to 1. The full and final product is initially 1. Then for n in nums, I can say full is equal to full multiplied by num, or not num but n, right? Basically what we are trying to do is we are trying to multiply each number and we have initialized it with 1 because 1 multiplied by any other number is not going to change the product. Now I can say I want to just run another loop for I in range of length of nums. I can say nums of I. That's what we need to put in our output. I'm just directly going to change the value in my original array nums. I'm going to say nums of I will be equal to the full product divided by it should be nums of I, right? Because I don't want this current product in my full product, right? Now I can just return the value of nums. It looks fine. Doesn't look perfect, but looks fine, right? One test case is fine. Second one is saying that 0 division error. Yeah, I was expecting this, right? You were expecting this as well, right? That maybe if my current element is 0, then what do you need to do, right? So if the current element is 0, it is actually not allowed to divide any element with 0. So let me actually try to run this input. Let me try to understand this input more, and then we will be able to solve this, right? So my input, let me copy it from, let me type it, let me draw it from the question itself. The input is -1. The input is -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, the full product, if we are taking the full product, first of all the full product itself will be 0. -1 multiplied by 0 is 0, right? Initially the value is 1. We are saying that okay, my full product will start with 1, then 1 multiplied by -1 will be -1. This multiplied by 0 will be 0. Now 0 multiplied by other numbers will always be 0, right? So we are missing our full product because of this 0. So the first thing which I see is, if my number is n, I don't want to add this while finding my full product. I want 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by -1. I don't want the 0, right? Alright, let's try to implement this in our code. First of all, I don't want the 0. So I can say, where is that? Take it out. I can say if n is not equal to 0, then only do the multiplication, right? This is actually going to improve our code a bit, but still we still have some problem, right? The problem is, even if I can find the product which is equal to 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by -1, which is -6, for this element, -6 divided by -1 is equal to 6, right? It should not be 6. That's because the product of other numbers are always going to be 0 for any number if that array is having a 0, right? Because if my array is having a 0 for this element, other numbers when multiplied will always be 0, right? Because of this 0. So I will have to track that, do I have a 0 or not. So I can say 0 is equal to 0. As of now I have 0 number of zeros, and in this one only I can do the tracking. I can say else 0 plus equal to 1. You need to understand that I'm trying to build the solution one by one instead of just rushing into the solution. I'm trying to do one step at a time, and that is what you need to do in an interview as well. Maybe the interview question or the interviewer is not giving you a lot of time. That's another thing, but honestly you should not rush to the solution. If you know about it, yeah, directly go and rush, but if you don't know, go step by step. I mean, that is my advice. If you think something better, then make sure that you put it in the comment box. People can also see those advices as well. Now I see one more problem. I just see one more problem, that even if I can count the 0 and I can say okay, for this one, if I have a 0, for this particular array, if I have a 0, then I will have 0 equal to 1. I'm counting the number of zeros, right? Now while assigning the elements, I know that the product which I found out is -6, 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by -1. Now while assigning the element, I can say okay, if this is not 0, right, and I have a 0 in my array, it means that I should replace this with a 0. That's because the product of other numbers are always going to be 0. This is not 0, right? Other elements must have a 0 because I have a 0. So the product will be 0, right? So let's go back and let's try to implement that. If my nums of I is not equal to 0 and I have a 0, 0 is more than equal to 0, then what I can do is I can say, let me put it down here, nums of I will be replaced with 0. If nums of I is not equal to 0 and we don't have a 0, right? let us say 0 is equal to 0, or I can actually get rid of this condition because by default it is 0. It will either be more than 0 or equal to 0. So if this condition is not true, we are going to come on this condition and we are going to say, okay, we are going to follow the normal procedure. All right. Again, one more thing which we need to notice is, if we have two number of zeros, and it is very important, guys, that you are doing these kind of notices while solving the problem. It is very important. That is something which is going to come with the critical thinking. So I'm saying that this is -1, this is 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to replace this with 0, this with 0, this with 0, and this with 0. But I cannot replace this with 0. That's because it is actually 0, right? So the other numbers are not 0. So it should be 3, 2, 1, -1, which is 3, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 1, multiplied by -1, which is -6. That's the full product which we have already calculated. I would say this is -6. But if there is one more 0, then even if it is 0, other numbers are still having a 0, right? This is our 0. So I can say even if it is a 0, replace it with a 0 because the product of other numbers are going to be 0. So there is one more condition, that if nums of I, let us say the nums of I is actually equal to 0 and the number of 0 which you have is equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, then we can say nums of I is equal to the full product which we have calculated. Why? Because if we have just one number of 0 and this is our current 0, then the other numbers are not 0, then the other number products needs to be taken into account. We can say nums of I equal to full, but if nums of I is equal to 0 and let us say and 0 is more than 1, so nums of I will always be 0, right? These are the four conditions which we are having in this particular in this particular problem, and I think this should now work. Let's try. Okay, accepted the sample test cases. Now let's submit this, and this is going to be accepted. It means we have solved this particular problem as well, right? So it looks good. We are able to solve a lot of problems, and I hope you're actually understanding the intuitions, not just the solution, but the intuitions, right? All right, we have solved this. There is a follow back coming in that can you solve it in O of n? Yes, we are solving it in O of n time complexity. This is the complete solution. We are not running any loop inside a loop, right? Without using the division operator. I think we are not using the division operator anywhere except here, right? So I don't think I have a solution as of now, but let's think that can we solve it without this division operator. Apart from this, we are not using it anywhere, right? And guys, I know that the solutions which I'm doing right now might not be the most optimal. I'm sure that they are optimal, but maybe there are something more which can be optimized in the solutions. But my target is not to find the best solution, but my target is to find the solution which is close to the best or maybe the best, but while understanding the intuition, while trying to solve it in such a way that I have seen this question for the first time. I'm not sure I can find the best solution in the first time or in the second time. I'll have to think a lot. But what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to make you skillful in such a way that you can even think about how can you solve something if you have not seen it, right? So I have solved this in this particular manner. I'm sure that you can just optimize it, right? But again, optimizing it more is fine. You can think about optimizing. For example, I can just remove this condition. This condition is of no use, right? I can remove this condition and this should be fine, right? Some kind of optimization can be there, right? But again, these are not really the optimization. These are just shortening your code, right? I'm just shortening my code. The time complexity and everything is not changing. It is O of n without any extra space. But can I think about without the division operator? I'll ask you guys, can you think about something without the division operator? Because I don't want that. I just keep thinking and I show you myself as thinking and you are just watching me thinking about something. So I'll just move ahead, but I will ask you guys to think about something which can solve this particular problem without this division operator. And if I, if my mind stuck something that, hey, I can maybe use this, then maybe I can come back and try to solve it again, right? Solve it again without this division operator, okay? So for now, let's move ahead on to the next question. The next question is a valid Sudoku. This is something which I find a bit tricky, but we are going to solve this. So in this question, you are given a 9x9 Sudoku. Sudoku is a game, and I used to solve Sudoku long back. Like in the newspapers, we actually get these Sudokus, and you have to solve it. So it was my hobby. So it's actually very good to solve these kind of questions. So we are given a 9x9 Sudoku board, and in a Sudoku board, there is a rule which we need to follow. Basically, we have a 9x9 board, right? It looks something like an array with 9 rows and 9 columns, basically a two-dimensional array, right? So this is what a Sudoku board looks like. And in a Sudoku board, instead of this, I'll explain you here that what is a valid Sudoku board and what is an invalid. So basically, if it is valid, then in your row, that is in each of the row, it is 9x9. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8, 9, rows. And you have 1, then you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 number of columns, right? Every row and every column is going to have unique elements from 1 to 9, because there are 9 sections. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 sections. So every section is going to have in a particular row unique values from 1 to 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In every column the rule will be same, only unique elements from 1 to 9. And one more special rule, which is in every 3 by 3 box, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, in this 3 by 3 box, we will have 9 unique elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9. Let me actually show you with this particular pad. Let's say you have a Sudoku board, right? And the Sudoku board is of 9 by 9. Okay, so you have a 9 by 9 Sudoku board. Let's say you have like 9 rows and you have 9 columns, right? Every row is going to have unique elements from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up to 9. Order can be different and order will definitely be different, but the elements are going to be unique in every row and in every column as well. And in the Sudoku board, every 3 by 3 elements, let me actually create a good Sudoku board. This is the board, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, I mean, it is not really good. I told you guys I will create a good one, but it is really bad. But that's fine. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns, right? The other rule is, the final rule is, every 3 by 3 box, that is 3 row and 3 columns, that is 3 rows, right? And the 3 columns. Every section of this particular box is going to have unique elements from 1 to 9. So this is one section. Then you have another section 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is another set of box which is having 3 by 3, 3 rows, 3 columns. Then the last one is also having 3 rows and 3 columns. Then you have this one which is having 1, 2, 3 rows, 1, 2, 3 columns. Then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 columns. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 columns, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 columns. So all these 9 sections which are of 3 by 3 size is also going to have unique elements, right? Alright, my drawing is not really good, so you can just ignore this, and what we can do is we can try to think about solution instead of thinking about the drawing, right? So basically what we can do is, if I'm asking you how can you solve this, then what will be your answer? See, the thing is, we need to have in every row unique elements, right? In every column unique elements, right? And in every 3 by 3 box unique elements. That's the only condition, right? And what we actually need to do is, let's actually read the complete question. We didn't do that. Each row must have digits from 1 to 9. Each column should be 1 to 9, and each 3 by 3 sub boxes should be 1 to 9. If it is valid, then return true. If it is not valid, return false. A board does not need to be full or be solvable to be valid. So it means that the board is not required to be full. You will get a board, you will get a 2-dimensional data, 9 by 9, basically 9 rows and 9 columns. You need to find that is this a valid Sudoku as of now. The dot means that it is not filled at that place. 1, 2, then empty means that it is a dot, which means it is not filled. You just need to find as of now in the current state, is it valid or not. We can tackle each of the 3 rules one by one, right? We can check that each row is having a unique data. So we can just run a loop to fetch each row, and then in each of the row we can see that if they are having unique data, then it is fine. If it is not having a unique data, it is not fine, right? We can just return. We don't need to check for columns. If the rows fails, we don't need to go to the columns. If the rows are fine, maybe check for the columns. If the columns are fine, then check for the boxes, right? All right, let's try to solve this. And the first thing we can do is we can check for the row. How can we actually do it is, for row in the board, that is, the board is actually a 2-dimensional data. Every row will be this complete array. So for each of the array, what we can do is we can say in each of the array the data should be unique. So for uniqueness, what data structure do you follow? We have seen this set, right? So I can actually take a set, s is equal to set, and I can say for I in row, for each element in my row, I want that if I in s, that is, if this I is already in my set, it means we have seen a duplicate value, and at this point I can return false. Else, right, else means that I have not seen this I in my board. I can say s dot add I. Now for row, do you think that this is perfect? I don't think so. I can see it is not perfect just for the rows. See, the thing is, this dot, the dot character is repeating. Our code doesn't know that I have to explicitly ignore the dots, because the dots can repeat. The dots means empty, right? Empty data in our board. So this else condition will actually be L if I is not equal to the dot. We need to ignore the dots, right? We just need to check for the elements which are filled, because the dots are actually repeating. It means that those are empty places. The filled places has to be checked. Those should not be repeating. For rows it looks good. Now let us do for the column. So I can say for column in the range of 9. I mean, this is the way you can run a loop in column wise or in row wise. In row wise it is quite straightforward. In column wise we have to we have to know how many rows do we have. So I can say for column in length of rows, or I can say length of board, right? It will tell me that how many rows do I have. Then I can say s is equal to set, right? Now I can say for row in range of length of each of my row. Each of my row is board of I, right? This is telling me how many columns do I have. It is 9, but just for generalized use case I would say length of the board. Now s is equal to a set. We are going to create a set for each of the column, right? Then I'm going to say for row. Now we are going to fetch each of the row, and in each of the row the current column value we are going to fetch. The length of board of I is telling me the number of columns I have, and now I can say, actually this will not be I, this will be column, right? This will be column. This will be column because this column will tell me that it will be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, up to 8, right? So board of 0, board of 1, board of 2, all are the different rows. All rows are having the same length. The length is going to be 9, right? I could just write 9 here and 9 here and it is going to work, but I'm trying to show you a generic solution of how to loop through columns, column wise looping. So this is the way for each row in this particular data. Now I can say that I know this is my row, this is my column. My current element I is equal to, from the board, get me the current row, current column value, right? This is going to be I. And now the same logic, this is the same logic which I need to repeat. That's because the requirement is same. Once you know the elements in your columns, the logic is going to be same, that the elements cannot be repeating. We are good for the columns, we are good for the rows. Let's do it for the boxes, right? Now I have 9 number of boxes, right? For current in range 9, or even more generic, length of board, right? I have 9 number of boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Now what can you think that how can you just loop through these boxes? See, the thing is, what you will have to think about is, you will have to think a bit smart, that this is my box number 0, box number 1, box number 2, this is box number 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8. For each box, the row and the columns are different, right? For the box number 0, the rows are 0, 1 and 2, right? 0, 1, 2. For box number 1, the rows are 3, 4, 5. Then box number 2, it is 6, 7, 8, right? What we are trying to do is, we are first trying to run a loop for 9 times, because we have 9 boxes, right? And you will notice that for the first 3 boxes, the rows are increasing, 0, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8. For the next 4th box, it is again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The columns are going to change. The columns will be here, but the rows are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? If I just try to highlight it a bit, it is 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8. Again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is how your rows are going to run. So I would say, how can you find this when you are running a loop from 0 to 8, index number 0 to 8, or maybe 9 times? For the first 3 data, for the first 3 boxes, the rows are going to be in increasing manner from 0 to 8. For the 4th box, it is again going to be from 0 to 8. From the box number 4 to the box number 6, basically these boxes, it is again going to be from 0 to 8. And then for the box number 7 to box number 9, it is going to be 0 to 8 again. What I can think is, if I'm just running a loop 9 times, the loop will be 0, 1, 2, right? Then 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8. For these data, for this particular loop, for 0, I will be running rows from 0, 1, 2. For 1, it will be 3, 4, 5. For 2, it will be 6, 7, 8, right? These are my rows. For 3, again, I will start from 0, 1, 2, right? So I'll have to think something tricky, and I'll actually tell you the trick. Maybe you can just remember the trick, and it is a very basic mathematics, that if you want to find the rows indexes, the indexes for your row, right? It is actually going to be the current index. That is, when I'm saying that what's the current index, I'm talking about these indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Basically, we are running the outer loop 9 times, right? So I am talking about this particular value, the current. It is going to be from 0 to 8, basically 9 times. So my row index will actually be equal to the current index mod 3. This whole value will be multiplied by 3. I will tell you why. See, the thing is, if you go to your indexes, 0 mod 3 will be 0, 1 mod 3 will be 0, 1 mod 3 will be 1, 2 mod 3 will be 2. For 0, you will have to run a loop from 0, 1, 2. For 1, you will have to run from 3, 4, 5. For 2, you will have to run from 6, 7, 8. Basically, 0 multiplied by 3, that's your starting index. 1 multiplied by 3 is your starting index, and 2 multiplied by 3 is your starting index. Now, for 3, you cannot say 3 multiplied by 3. That is 9 will not be your starting index. But you can say 3 mod 3, which is 0. Again, you are able to convert 3, 4, 5 to 0, 1, 2, right? Just by taking the mod. 6, 7, 8, you can convert to 0, 1, 2 just by taking the mod. And you are taking the mod with 3. That's because 3 by 3 is the size of your board. So I can say, I know the row index will be this multiplied by 3 because I want to start from that index, right? The next thing is I want to find my column index, and for column index, it will be something different. Column index will actually be current divided by 3, and then it will be multiplied by 3. I'll tell you why. That's more important to know. See, the thing is, when you are running a loop to find the box 0, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you will notice that your columns are, for first box, the column is 0, 1, 2. For second box, the column is 0, 1, 2. For the third box, the column is 0, 1, 2. Then the fourth box, fifth box, and sixth box, the column is 3, 4, 5. So basically, you need to update the columns after every 3 columns, after every 3 box, right? So I can say, I'm running a loop for 9 times, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are the indexes. Okay, for this, the column will be same, right? For the next 3, 4, 5, the columns will be same, right? And for the next 6, 7, 8, the columns will be same. And what are actually the columns actually? It will be 0, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8 for the next 3 boxes, right? How can I know that if the box number is 2, basically the box number has to be, it is the third box, the index is 2, then I have to say 0, 1, 2. I can say I will have to convert this 2 and convert this 1 to 0, convert 5 and 4 to 3, convert 8 and 7 to 6. So that I can just have for all these 3 values just a 0, for all these 3 values just a 3, for all these 3 values just a 6, and I can say 0, 1 and 2, all these are having, for all these the columns will be 0, 1 and 2, right? So what I can do, I can say, let me actually go back to the browser. I can say the current is 0 or 1 or 2. I'll just divide it by 3 and we will have 0. Initially we will have 0, that's our initial index. Multiply by 3, that's because let us say we are dealing with the fourth box. The current will be 4, 4 divided by 3 is 1. 3 multiplied by 1 will be 3. So for the fourth box, for this box, we are going to have the indexes from 3, then 4, then 5. So these are the starting index. This is the formula we are trying to create. I am taking a lot of time to explain because even if you know the formula, it's good. If you do not know the formula, you will be really confused how this formula is coming up. So I've tried to explain you. Maybe you can just, explore this formula with different set of inputs or different Sudokus. Then this formula will be crystal clear with you. Now I create a set again, and now I can say for every box I need to run a loop, right? So now what I can do is I can say for row in range of row index, that's my starting range, I have to see for 3 boxes. So I will say row index plus 3, right? I have to check for 3 boxes. And for column in the range of call index, comma, call index plus 3, because we have to see for 3 boxes. If I can say, okay, instead of if, I can say just copy this logic, because we know our row, we know our column, right? Once we know our row, once we know our column, this is what we can do. This is our data. If it is already in our set, return false. If it is not, then add it in our set if it is not equal to dot. So these are all the conditions. These are all the conditions by which we can return a false. If we are out of all these 3 conditions, we can return a true. That is, the Sudoku is fine. I can say just run this. I think this should be fine. No, it is not fine. Okay, no worries. We have done some mistake. Let's try to rectify the mistake. Okay, so it is saying that we are returning false. It should be true. All right, means it is true. We are returning false. So if we are returning a false, we are stuck somewhere here or in the third rule. One of the rules is I think returning false. So let me try to think about it. We are just running a simple loop in our board, and then this is our set. For I in the row, we are just fetching each element, each row in our data. What about the last logic? Okay, if I in S, return false, elif this. I think guys, this logic looks good. I don't know why it is failing, but maybe we can just have a closer look, understand what's the issue. This is call. This should be call and not column. I mean, that's the issue. We sometimes do some kind of stuff which is very hard to find out. I think it should be passing now. These are small errors. Yeah, it is accepted. We can just submit this and this should pass for all the test cases. Yes, it is accepted. So I can say yes, it is passed for all the test cases. So we have solved this particular problem, and it involves a lot of maths. Apart from this, arrays and everything, it involves a lot of maths as well. But I would still say you will have to, just remember this kind of logic, and not just remember, try to think about why is this logic working. Try to take some different, Sudoku boards, some different, some different length of rows and columns. Like let's take a 2-dimensional array of 8 rows and 10 columns, and let us see how it is working. So you should have to explore this with different 2-dimensional array. You can do it on a pen and paper, not, you don't need to, directly do it on the code. You can try to do it on a pen and paper, that will be helpful. I think I have solved a lot of NeetCode 150 questions. Mostly I have solved for all the array questions. Only this one is remaining, which is longest consecutive sequence. I would say this is a very interesting question. First of all, sometimes people, read the question wrong. I'll tell you how. So what happens is, given an array integer nums, return the length of the longest consecutive sequence of elements that can be formed. So we are given an integer array nums, and we need to form the length. We need to find the length of the longest consecutive sequence that can be formed. Now what is a consecutive sequence? It is a sequence of elements in which each element is exactly one greater than the previous element. The elements do not need to be consecutive in the original array. That's the thing you need to understand. I'll tell you the question. Let me go back to the board and try to explain you the question. Let us say the question says that you are given an array, right? That's something you are given as an input. Okay. You need to find the longest consecutive sequence in this array. This basically array is nums array. All the elements are going to be integer in this particular array. Let us say the array is 2, 20, 4, 10, 3, 4, 5, 11. Compared to the example, I have added this 11. What you need to find out is the longest consecutive subsequence. What is the consecutive sequence? Any sequence in this particular array such that each element in the sequence is one more than the previous element. So one of the sequence can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Although I have this 4 here, I cannot include this 4 here to increase the length. Although I need to, return the longest consecutive sequence. 2, 3, 4, 4, 5 is not the consecutive sequence, because 2 is the first element. Fine. 3 is 1 more than 2. 4 is 1 more than 3. 4 is not 1 more than 4. That's why each element should be consecutive. You cannot just have duplicate elements, right? So I can say this is one of the consecutive sequence which has a length of 4. Another consecutive sequence is 10 and 11. 10, 11 is also consecutive. Although 10 is the first, 11 is 1 more than 10. That's what the question says. But the length of 10, 11 sequence is just 2. So this is the best sequence, longest sequence we have. The output we need to give is 4. Now, the problem which happens is, people thinks that we need to find the longest consecutive subsequence, right? We just need to find the longest consecutive sequence. What I mean to say is, if this array would have been 20, 4, 2, 3, 5, 11, 10, then you might say that, hey, what's the consecutive sequence? I don't find any consecutive sequence. This might happen, or maybe the consecutive sequence is 2, 3. Yeah, I got one. But in reality, you can take the elements in any sequence, and that is what the question says. The elements do not need to be consecutive in the original array. You can take the elements in any sequence and form a consecutive sequence. I can say 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. This is the consecutive sequence. Longest, fine. Even 10, 11 is consecutive. I can say 10, 11, but this is not fine because the length is 2. I have a sequence 2, 3, 4, 5, which is having a length of 4. I need to return the length. Alright. So how can you think about solving this particular problem? So first of all, what we can think is, just complete brute force. What are the sequence we have? We have the first one is 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 10, 11. We have 20, right? What we will do is, we will say, okay, I don't know what's the starting point of any sequence. It is 2, 10, 20. I don't know about it. 2, 10, 20 are the different starting indexes or the starting elements. How can I find this? I don't know, right? What I can do is, I can say, okay, let us say all the elements can be a starting, starting index. Okay. Is 20 a starting index? Let us assume that 20 is a starting index. If 20 is a starting index, the next element I want to increase this sequence length is 21. Do I have a 21 in this particular data? I don't have, right? I don't have. Alright, this is one of the sequence I got from my first element. Now I'm saying that 4 is my starting element. If 4 is my starting element, the next element I want is 5. I have a 5, right? The next element I want is 6. I don't have a 6. So if 4 is the starting index or starting element, then 4, 5 is one of the sequence. Then I can say 2 is a sequence. Maybe 2 is the starting point of a sequence. Then 2, I got a 3. Then I will need a 4. I got a 4. Then I will need a 5. I got a 5. Then I will need a 6. I don't have a 6. That's the end, right? So 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Then with 3, I can say I can form a sequence 3, 4, 5. Then with 5, I cannot form a sequence. Just one element will be there, 5, because I don't have a 6. So we can say every element itself is the starting element in my sequence. Let us start with this approach. Okay. So I can say for I in nums, we are just trying to, loop through our nums, and then let's first store the result, which is equal to 0. And also what we can do is we can store our data nums in a set as well. I can say let's create a copy of our data as a set so that we can have a lookup quickly. We can quickly find out, do we have some data, do we have some number in our nums or not, right? Now I will say that my current number is I, right? And the current length I have is 1. Now I can say run a loop while my current number plus 1, that is the next number, is in my set or not. Is in my set or not. If it is in my set, I can say my current number which I need to find is equal to current plus 1, right? I will move to the next number, and now the condition check will be, how about, do we have the next number of my next number? I mean, if we start with 5 and we got a 6, then my current will be 6 and the next check will be done for 7, that do we have a 7 or not, right? Now if this condition is true, I can say okay, my length is now increased, this will be equal to length plus 1, right? Looks good as of now. Now I can say result is equal to max of length comma result. This is our original value, this is our result variable. We are always going to update our result if we get a length more than our current result, right? And then we can say return the value of result. Let's just run this code and see, are we able to solve this? Yes, it is accepted. And it was so simple, guys, right? Just one concept we have to think about. The concept was, what we are doing in brute force, we are assuming all elements are our starting point. All right, I will say okay, if 20 is my starting point, I need a 21, right, to increase the length of my sequence. If I get a 21, 22 is what I need, right? So just keep doing it, and this is how you can solve this. But we can actually we can optimize it further, and that's because when I was trying to create the sequence with 20, we needed a 21. When I'm trying to create a sequence with 4, I create a sequence of 4, 5, but our actual answer is 2, 3, 4, 5. It means that I should do something so that I don't need to create this sequence. That's not the sequence I need, because this sequence is a part of my actual answer, right? So instead of this, if I just create one sequence, 2, 3, 4, 5, that should be more optimal. But how can you find that? But how can you find that 4 cannot be the starting point of a sequence if I have a 3, right? If I have a 3, 4 cannot be the starting point. Definitely 3 will be. For 3, if we have a 2, 3 cannot be the starting point. For 2, if we have a 1, we don't have, but if we have a 1, then 2 cannot be the starting point. So maybe just adding one more condition, that if current minus 1 not in S, that is, we do not have current minus 1 in sequence in my nums, then only we are going to say okay, that can be my starting range. This current number can be my starting number for any sequence. If you will submit this, you are able to pass all the test cases. Okay, we are getting, okay, this is invalid syntax because it should be not in instead of not is, right? So this should pass all the test cases, and yes, it is accepted, and this is the most optimal solution which I can think about. If you can think something better, then obviously everything is welcome. Your suggestions are welcome, guys. And I think we have solved all the questions from the arrays section. Let me go to NeetCode homepage, practice, then NeetCode 150, and we have solved the arrays and hashing all the questions. This was very tiring, guys. I have done something like this for the first time, that I just keep solving the questions while speaking, because a lot of times when you are solving the question, you are using your mind, and when you are speaking as well, it is a bit hard to think. So it was a good experience as of now. I think that was the first video which I have created in which I have just solved 9 questions back to back while explaining. So I feel really good. If I get a good feedback from you guys that you want me to solve the next series as well, that is 2 pointers, then sliding window, then stack, then all the other topics, then I will definitely come up with one more video, and I will keep coming on more videos for you guys if you want me to solve all the other sections as well, like this, just in a one video. So I think that's it for this video, guys. It was a bit hard, but it was good. If you find this video helpful for you, then make sure that you hit that like button. And if you find any kind of feedback you need to give, if you find any kind of questions, then make sure that you put it in the comment box. And if you want to just stick with me in this particular series, then you can subscribe to the channel as well. I want to see you guys in the next video. I will see you guys in the next video, and thank you for watching this video, guys.